Today's sponsor is Loot Crate. For less than $20 a month, Loot Crate gives the geek in you a special treat every month. Loot Crate's a subscription box service with $40 worth of geek, gamer, and pop culture gear, collectibles, apparel, and comics and more delivered to your mailbox every month. This month, they're bringing you a fight for the ages. Suit up, choose your allies, and enter the arena for combat. They're ready to stand their ground this month with exclusive items from Blizzard, Fallout 4, Capcom, sponsor-worthy loot from the Hunger Games, as well as a few more items that will help their winners emerge victorious. You have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate, and when the cutoff happens, that's it. It's over. So go to lootcrate.com/KFGames and enter code KFGames to save $3 on your new subscription today. What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 43 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the coolest dudes in video games, Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller.
Hello.
Portillo's here, chewing on some things.
He got a new owl he likes a lot.
This is good. This is the reuniting the Avengers for the first time in a while. It feels like, even though it was
It's been a
probably
week,
just
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't
It's
here.
been a long
I guess
week.
2 weeks since we sat down to do
The most
Gamescast, all of
famous
us.
Avengers of all. I'm Mysterio.
Uh-huh.
You're Omega Red.
Oh.
And Portillo's the Flash.
He's just so fast.
Is he Professor Xavier?
Well, Professor Xavier isn't in the Avengers.
I apologize. That was
Yeah,
stupid.
don't be
that was a
stupid,
mistake on my
Greg.
part. Sorry, everybody.
Who am I then?
More of a DC guy.
Tim is Spawn.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I like
That's
that.
a good one. You look like
I'm
him.
very Spawn-like.
Yeah.
And
Your hair's doing a thing that you might want to know about. I don't know.
Did
he
it
likes
look
'cause
good?
It's like Superman.
Did it look good?
It looked like something. So this is a show where we talk about video games every week, and it's a beautiful thing. All you beautiful people join us, and we have a beautiful hour-ish conversation about stuff. So that's great. If you want to get it early, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. And something that we don't talk about enough is the fact that if you go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, you can get a bonus episode every month.
We just
for
put up the
$1.
October one.
Yeah. So you should check that out. Me and Colin did a little one-on-one time, and it was good, and it was just as sexy as it sounds.
Important thing to point out about those exclusive episodes. It's $1 and up, and then if you give the $1 for the month or whatever, you get all the other exclusive episodes that have ever come.
So if you want to be super sneaky, you could just go in 1 month, pay the $1, download all the old ones, and then never pay again. I'm just saying.
Well, then you want to get it going forward, but yeah.
Well, yeah, you get all of them going back. I'm just saying, if you
I
want
think that's that sneaky. I think that's just the business model.
It's a working game in the system. I can appreciate that. I hope you don't do that, but if you want to do that,
But if you feel the need, I want people to listen to this shit. So
Yeah.
I feel like they should do whatever
what
you
you
need
gotta
to do,
it's your life.
is what we're saying.
It's my life.
If you don't want to pay, that's cool. You can just go to youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, broken up topic by topic, Monday through Thursday, full episode Friday. You guys know the drill by now. Also, there's this other show you should go check out, PS I Love You, XOXO. It's a PlayStation-centric podcast hosted by the coolest dudes in video games. It's very good. You guys are liking it a lot. Both of those shows and Game Over Greggy's show, you should go to itunes.com/kindoffunny, rate them all, review them all, love them all. The reason I brought up PlayStation, PS I Love You, XOXO.
I do it all the time. It's hard.
Yeah,
We're still learning.
exactly.
6 episodes in now, you're allowed to do that.
The reason I bring that up is the first topic of the day is the PlayStation conference at
Paris Games Week.
Paris Games Week.
Sure.
Now, there was a bit of hubbub of should we talk about it in the show or should we not?
Right.
Because you guys have already covered it, and people, when we first announced PS I Love You, was like, oh, there's going to be so much redundancies and stuff. Gamescast is a show about video games. So
Right.
for us to not talk about PlayStation is silly. And also, I want to talk about stuff. And this show's going to be a bit more about the broad, stuff. Not so much the nitty-gritty details.
Okay.
So like this topic, we'll talk for 15, 20 minutes. Who knows? Kind of just giving a wrap up for the people.
I'm super interested to know what do you think?
There's a couple. Yeah, I have some thoughts.
Okay.
Greg, I do have some thoughts. I have a list of all the stuff that,
he's got lists.
they announced. Yeah, Tim Gettys has a list. Who is surprised?
Yeah.
And we'll go from there. But try not to be too upset if you are.
They'll be fine.
Getting some
No, you'll be
redundancies.
fine. And frankly, I was vehemently against us not doing this on this show because I think that this show needs to be treated as it's going to normally be treated, regardless of what we talk about on PS I Love You XL. Because there's not necessarily going to be crossover between those shows. There's definitely people that listen to that show that don't listen to the show, and I'm sure that there's people that listen to the show that don't listen to that show. So
I mean, the comments say that. So it's like there is people that listen to very specific things. So
it's all
we're
good.
going to start this off with PlayStation Conference Paris Games Week. Star Wars Battlefront, we got a new character trailer.
Yeah.
So we got to see a little bit of that Boba Fett. We got to see some Han Solo.
He made a little joke when he went over the
I like
Sarlacc
that.
pit.
I liked that a lot. What
No
did you guys
sign.
think about that?
No sign yet of Watto.
Yeah, there's no Watto. There was no midichlorians.
Right. Well, no, they're there. They're in
They're just
they're in
there.
everything.
Yeah. They're within
Yeah.
within
duh.
us all.
That's
Not
just
us
there.
all. Just the Jedi.
Now, see, I still argue that they're inside of everyone, but it's the Jedis have a higher midichlorian count.
Yeah, I
That's
don't even
the deal.
remember.
I think that is the case.
Oh,
Star Wars
Well,
expert Greg Miller.
yeah, exactly.
I also like Data. I didn't see Data in that trailer.
God damn it. You're so fucking much. But that trailer got me hyped.
Trailer was great.
Yeah.
No, I've been talking about it for a while that I didn't play the beta, but I watched Nick and Colin play the beta.
Mhm.
And I was like, this looks like something I wouldn't mind jumping into and fucking around with. And that trailer, I was like, yeah, that does sound like seem like fun.
That trailer, again, though, reminded me of the same shit that Colin always talks about, where I'm like, man, I wish there was a campaign for this. Like, I want to play this. I want an experience out of this. And I'm not an online multiplayer shooter guy, so I'm like, ugh, damn it. Will I jump in and play it a little bit? Probably not.
Really?
Yeah,
Not
like
at
that's
all?
the thing is, it's just like, I'm not good at that shit. Like, I'm just not good. So
Yeah,
that
but
makes it not fun.
Yeah, I hear you. Like last night, right now, we've talked about this in our personal times. Colin and I, not you. The fact that we're in a holding pattern for Fallout 4, and the fact that nothing is Fallout 4 makes you want to play nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
that's where I'm at right now.
last night, I had a couple hours of downtime, and I was like, I should play something. I went, I need to chip away at the Metal Gear Platinum, but I don't feel like doing that right now. And this Tales of the Borderlands, I want to finish, but not right now. And I was like, you know what? I'm still waiting on Christine was doing work, and we were gonna watch a movie. But I'm like, I'm still waiting on her to play co-op Halo, but that won't stop me. I can play multiplayer Halo. So I jumped in and did one match of that. In the beginning was just me getting my teeth kicked in for sure. But then I turned that corner where I'm like, all right, I'm getting a little bit of a feel for it. And it's like, all right, this is what Battlefront could be. I don't need to play a million hours of Battlefront, but man, I have an hour to kill. Why not do that?
Yeah. I mean, if you can put in like 10 hours, you do kind of cross that hump. You know what I mean? Of like, you start being good. Not amazing, but good.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know if I'd want to do that to something that, at least, I don't want to like speak badly about the game. It's just like the repetitiveness of just like deathmatch over and over, or you know, whatever, like objective
Capture the flag
based
and all
type
this-
things.
yeah,
It's just like, it's not my cup of tea, but man, it's beautiful. Like looking at the
Yeah.
game, like, God damn. And we
That's
know
why-
we're going to get a good one day, a single player.
Yeah, hopefully BioWare will do it again. But no, that's the thing of I'd love to get in there and just fool around for a while. You know, don't worry, Tim. Don't stress out. You don't have to get in there and be an
I'm pretty
expert.
stressed.
You and I
pretty
can just run around and play
Yeah.
and have fun.
I have fun with that, but then all the people on the internet get mad at me, like, "Oh, you're not good." At
Well, you're gonna
it."
get your single player Star Wars from Visceral.
Yeah, and that's gonna be fucking
But
awesome.
I hope so.
I want another Knights of the Old Republic.
That'd be cool too.
I wouldn't count on that.
I know, but I want it. That's all I'm saying. I know Amy's gonna deliver.
But anyway, the trailer was awesome. I really liked it. I
Yeah.
liked the cut of it was really good. Seeing Boba Fett and seeing Han Solo and all that stuff, fucking awesome. I think it was good that they included that in the conference, just because it kind of like got people hyped.
Yeah,
and
and
shit.
they stacked other third party stuff in the beginning. Call of Duty was even before Battlefront, and they
No one's talking about that.
yeah, and they it was interesting that they did that because they usually don't, and that's usually frustrating. They usually will lead with something interesting for first party or something dynamic for third party, and then they'll go into like the smaller stuff and stats and all that kind of stuff after the CEO speech, and then at the end they'll do like Assassin's Creed or a Ubisoft game or an EA game, and then they'll do like the big first party game. And I like how they just got rid of all of the because frankly people that are watching the PlayStation press conference really don't care about the third party games.
Yeah, there was a definitive moment in there where it turned. You're like, oh, okay, here's where I'm gonna pay attention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like we care about them, we play them, but we at press conferences we do not care.
Yeah,
we
press
watch
conferences, it's
Ubisoft's
about
press
the
conference for
announcements.
Ubisoft's games. We watch EA's press conference for EA's games. We do not care. I would love to see a press conference one day with nothing but first party games, but that's not. They have to massage
They
the
just have to do that
partnerships.
stuff. Yeah. First party stuff. We saw Ratchet and Clank. We saw a little bit more of that with a trailer. And
No, you're
stuff.
super excited.
Looks
For that.
fantastic.
I am. Yes. I mean, that game looks amazing. I love the Ratchet series. I was a bigger fan of the PS3 series as opposed to the PS2, and I still love
Really?
the PS2 ones. Yeah.
I mean, those were better games. They were. I mean, Crack in
Tools,
Time
of,
was.
Tools of Destruction and Crack in Time.
Yeah, I was gonna say Crack in Time is the only one I think that was really like super critically acclaimed, right?
Tools of Destruction people liked.
People liked it, but I think
Okay, let me make this clear. I like Tools of Destruction. I liked Quest for Booty, which is this.
Yeah,
the download deal.
Yeah,
And then
that's surprising to me.
I
I mean,
liked Crack in
Crack in
Time.
Time.
All the other ones, no.
Yeah, no one's
But
talking
those
about
don't
all
count.
for one.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
We understand. We understand.
But I mean,
Please.
at least on the PS2
Please.
era, like they were all great. I loved the first one. Then the second and third, they were great, but I was just like, all right, this is just. I needed a break, I think, and then so when they came back, I liked them. But then once it got to like Deadlocked and stuff, I was like, it's a little overkill.
Gotcha.
But
I
I'm
always feel like-
excited for this to come back, and the fact that it is kind of like a reboot, reimagining, whatever, and it's like a movie tie-in, but not really. Like it's whatever. People forever have been saying these games look like Pixar movies. This game looks like a Pixar movie.
Yeah.
It's actually finally at that point when you see it, you're like, damn, that's gameplay. Holy shit. And I love that we're still seeing that, having that moment with video games. Cause for a while it was just like, all right, we're close, but we're never going to be closer than this,
I hear you. My problem with it is I feel like I've been talking about it forever. This and this fucking movie.
Yeah.
They announced the movie forever ago, talked about the game forever ago, and we're still not, like, the game's not out this year.
Yeah. It is weird, and I think it's pretty obvious. It's because of the movie.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
The game I'm pretty sure would be done this year. We recently got a movie trailer too, like a couple weeks ago, and it looks good. It's definitely not like the trailer looks like here's a funny kid movie.
Yeah.
But Ratchet and Clank, I've always liked it for its writing and for I think it's funny and
what up,
clever
TJ
and
Fixman?
all that shit. But it's good in the same way a Pixar movie's good, where it's kiddie, but it's also adults
There's
can
something
enjoy
for
it
adults can get out of it.
and stuff. So I'm excited to see the movie, and I'm excited to play the game, and especially the game because it looks amazing. And I haven't had a Ratchet in my life for long enough.
Right.
I think we're back. It's time for another.
I always give them shit and say Insomniac, I wish they would move away from Ratchet, take a page of this. Ratchet's been into the ground, da da da. I personally haven't played a Ratchet game in a while. So the game, I'm like, yeah, I'll just kick the tires on it and see if it hooks me in or not. But
and Into the Nexus was, I think, a testing ground for that, with it going back to the classic formula. It was not really a full game, but it was, it existed, and it's a game that was on PS3 and people enjoyed it. And trophies came out for Vita, but I don't think they reported it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that it's time to go back. I think the game's probably gonna be great. I mean, the core Ratchet games are all great.
Yep.
That's why I was surprised, is that people really love the PS2 trilogy, and they like Crack in Time. But I think those are the games for a lot of people. That's why I'm excited. Like, I love the first Ratchet and Clank. I think that was unlike anything I'd ever played before. So, yeah, I'm excited about it. It's not a game I'm gonna lose any sleep over until it's here. But
it's definitely one of those things where I'm gonna play this. Like, it's one of the games I'm gonna play for sure. And I'm excited for, because there's not too many games that I do that for.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for, but yeah, I don't need it right now. Like, I don't need it this year. So waiting a couple more months, I'm fine with that. But to me, that's the type of gameplay I like. I like platformers, and I like just like fun arcadey shooting and stuff, and wacky comical things. And that
Captain
is
Quark.
Ratchet, like all the weapons and stuff. It's like,
yeah, that's Insomniac's thing, is weird weapons. So
yeah.
What's the guy we love so much? Mr. What's his name?
Oh, the
I've done this a couple times on different shows.
yeah, I don't remember. I know what you're talking about, but
I'm gonna look him up.
Yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about.
it's a weapon.
Oh, gotcha. Damn it, I don't remember either.
I'm hooked. I got Groovatron shoved in there, and that's not
It's
it.
not
That's the disco
Groovatron,
ball you
yeah.
toss up, obviously. Mr. Somebody.
Anyways, moving on, we got some fighting game stuff. Street Fighter V release date and a Dulcim announcement.
Very much sooner than I thought. I thought Street Fighter V might not even have been until like the summer or the fall. So
we're getting it February 16th.
yeah, it's very soon.
PS4 and PC. And then they also announced that there's gonna be like 6 DLC characters next year, and they're talking more about how this game is gonna be like a platform for Street Fighter instead of like having Super Street Fighter and all that other stuff, which I think is great. They're making a really good call with all that. And then there's one more character to be announced, probably at PSX. People are excited about Street Fighter. It's cool.
Yeah, I think I think you glazed over what was most significant about the announcement, which was, other than the release date, which was that the 6 DLC characters will be free if you
use the in-game
currency. So I thought that was a really interesting move, because they're basically saying, as Greg and I talked about on PS I Love You, is that they will certainly be available to buy. You have to imagine, but you can use this in-game currency that you can earn. Like, anyone can earn the currency, and you can just spend it on the characters and get them for free, which I think is cool. So the roster will be 20, but it'll be 26 by February 2017. So
yeah.
I think that's the cast is not as big as I thought it would be, but that's big enough. And I like that. There's just as a I'm a very passive Street Fighter fan these days, but I love the series, and I love characters and stuff. I was really excited to see Dhalsim, especially because he's like old, and he has like he has a beard and stuff. I think it's like really a cool evolution, as opposed to what they did to Ken, where they kind of fucked up Ken.
I love how you say that just based on his hair.
Yeah, well, no, and just, I mean, everything's different. Is you can give him different outfits, and he just doesn't look like Ken at all. Like, that's not like, doesn't.
People change.
He's a blonde white. He's a blonde white guy in a red kimono. That's supposed to be.
They got rid of Ryu and replaced him with Nick. That's weird.
I do like how there's a lot of new characters and a lot of weird characters that they brought back. Like, I thought it was cool to bring Birdie in, and this new Laura character is pretty cool. So I am interested to see what the final character is. I assume it's got to be an existing character. You got like Guile or something. Yeah, because there's just too many. I feel like, in my opinion, as just a passive Street Fighter fan, I know people like our friend Vince at IGN would be excited about testing new characters and figuring them out. I do feel like it seems to be quite a few weird characters from the past or new characters, and not enough
OG homies.
Yeah.
I mean, but that was Street Fighter 4 though, and I think that they're trying to do something at least a little bit different initially. Like we can suspect that within 3 years, all the characters are going to be playable again, because especially, at least when I say all, I'm talking about the Street Fighter
core.
2 cast, even with all the extra 8 extras.
It would be cool to see Charlie instead of Guile actually, but I like Charlie actually more than Guile, but
Isn't Charlie in it in 5?
I don't know. Oh no, you're right. He is in it.
I
that's
think he
right.
was like one of the first ones announced. That's why I don't.
That's
think
why Guile wouldn't be in
is
it. No,
not
you're
gonna
absolutely
be it.
right. You're absolutely right. That's true. No, I was like, I don't think he is, but then I'm like, but I saw a guy doing like flash kicks and stuff like that.
I'm pretty sure he was one of the first.
No, so you're absolutely right. He
announced.
is in it. So yeah, and I guess that does solve the American Air Force dude bro contingent.
Mm-hmm.
The random characters I've always really loved in Street Fighter. I've always loved like really quirky. I like Dan just because he's making fun of everyone, which I think is cool. I love his like super in Alpha 3. Like you use all of your energy and it's just he's like, oh, and it's just like it's just a fireball, doesn't go anywhere. Like I think that's like he's just a funny character. I always liked Cody, although Cody's really not a Street Fighter character. I think Cody's like a Final Fight character.
Yeah.
But I loved in Alpha 3. I think it was Alpha 3, might have been Alpha 2. Just he had a knife and you can like drop it and pick it up and do more damage, and he's like handcuffed. I just like the idea of like a prisoner that's like handcuffed
and has to fighting.
Yeah, and he's still fighting or whatever. I always liked Rolento. I thought he was over the top. But he got a lot of play, I think, in
4.
In 4. So yeah, there's ways they can go. It'd be T-Hawk or DJ and these like Cammy, like those characters. Cammy's in it.
Yeah.
They don't seem to touch too much. Cammy's out of those 4 characters that were introduced in Super Street Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Don't seem to get as much play as Cammy does, so I don't know if you want to go in that direction. I like Rose. I think I don't know. There's a lot of interesting characters. I wish the roster was a little bit bigger, but again, it's not a game I'm really going to mess around with. I just like watching people play it, and I like just reading about it and stuff like that.
I have a feeling it's going to be a new character that was introduced in 4 that comes back, but I don't know.
Oh, with the what's that? Yeah, what is the Rufus? Would be an interesting, the fat guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know who's in the roster like for sure right now. I know there's like 15 announced, but see Viper. I don't know if she
Crimson Viper
is back yet or not.
Yeah, I don't know. She was
But if
cool.
not,
She
I
was
think
fucking awesome.
She could be
She was a really cool character.
likely.
Mr. Zircon is who we were looking for.
Zircon. Mr.
Yeah.
Zircon.
Mr. Zircon does not approve.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell he used to say when he killed people. He was awesome.
And then more fighting game news. Tekken 7 coming to PS4, announced by Bandai Namco. Not exclusive, but they didn't mention the other
course.
stuff.
I think it's coming to PS4 first, maybe. I don't know. That whole part of the presentation was a little awkward and weird and very.
Yeah, the transition in between Street Fighter to them when they're like, we're going to announce the last character, the 17th character, 16th character, whatever. And it's the guy who does Tekken. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because Yoshinori Ono is a fucking legend.
Mhm.
Like, just absolutely legendary. I've been to so many weird conferences with him. I remember going to a Darkstalkers panel where he was like, made everyone hold up $1 bill so that he can take a picture so that he can prove to Capcom that people wanted Darkstalkers, and then they released
For
Darkstalkers
$1.
and no one wanted it. So that was kind of the joke was on him, I guess. But he's just a legend. He's just a legend.
He's a funny dude.
So it was, and what's the Tekken guy? Hamada, I think. Hamada-san. Different, more buttoned up kind of guy, but the transition between them was weird, and I thought it was interesting that when he came out, I was like, oh, they're gonna finally talk about Tekken versus
cross
Street Fighter or whatever,
yeah.
or cross Street Fighter, like, which is just.
Well, I think they eventually did cancel that.
I don't think so. I thought that they said that it was still in development.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I remember like maybe
Look
a
it up,
year
Greg.
ago.
I'm
This is
on
why
it.
we do need phones. I was yelling at you before, but actually we need you really bad.
Yeah, it's important. Moving on from that, Gearbox's Battleborn getting beta next year, coming to PlayStation 4 first.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people like it though. Like I was watching the internet yesterday. People on Twitter, they were really into this whole beta idea for this game.
Yeah, well, on game when we had Randy on our conference our show at GameStop Expo in September, he showed us the game and it looked cool, and I understand it, and it might be a game fun to mess around with. The thing that I never got around to asking because we had such a little amount of time is that name is fucking awful. That is maybe the worst video game name I've ever heard in my entire life.
Battleborn?
Yeah,
I don't know about
Battleborn. That's the name of the game. All right. Like I just, it's such a disappointing name. It's like when I used to talk about Spec Ops: The Line, which is one of my favorite games on PS3. It would have been so much cooler if it was just called The Line. You know, Battleborn. I was like, such an uninspired game, especially from the studio that gave us Borderlands. Like that Borderlands is such an awesome name. Battleborn. It's
At
so
the 2014
generic,
San Diego
generic.
Comic-Con, Harada confirmed the game is still in development.
Oh wow.
The
I
reason
remember
for the
reading that.
scare The reason for the scarce information is due to Bandai Namco waiting for the opportunity to market it. In 2015, Harada stated development has come far along.
I remember reading that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know where.
So when that happened, I was like, oh,
Here we go.
yeah,
that was
it's
exactly
time.
Tekken 7's an exciting announcement, especially because it seems like a prequel story to Tekken fans. But when that happened, I was like, oh shit, like okay, now
That's
it's
shocking
finally,
to me. It's
Yeah, I
shocking
mean, I
it's
thought
still a
I'm sure
thing.
I'm not the only one that thought that.
That's crazy. And then new game announcement, Boundless. It looks like Portal, and it looks gorgeous. I want to play that.
Yeah.
That looks awesome.
I'm waiting for more information.
Yeah, I don't really have anything.
I mean,
to
just
say
the
about
little we saw, though, I was like, man,
Right.
this looks like a game that I would be really.
Well, at first when they
really
started,
into.
that's the one where I was like, No Man's Sky, and then I was like, wait, why has he got a hammer? This isn't No Man's Sky.
This is
Fuck.
No Man's
All right, and then we're like, is this Tomorrow Children? Did something change?
Yeah,
No.
like that was the vibe. That's all right. That's what I remember. Is it looks like a Minecraft. Almost looks like Minecraft.
Yeah.
Or at least it didn't look like Minecraft in the immediacy of it, but it looked
when
like
you went
when
through
you
the
looked.
first portal.
Yeah, and then you looked around and it all seemed very intentionally blocky, and so it did remind me of the Tomorrow Children at first, which is Q Games PS4 exclusive that has just disappeared off the face of the planet. And I was like, and that's why I said to Greg, I'm like, is this the Tomorrow Children? Did they disappear to do the art differently or something like that? But it wasn't. I was surprised that the Tomorrow Children wasn't there, although I think it'll be at PSX. The game exists. I think
it's been at trade shows, right? It was playable on the E3 show floor. Was that the last one?
yeah, and they did a public alpha.
Yeah.
So it was. I mean, the alpha I think was in like I think
they're
it might
still
even, I think it
happening
might have
over
even still been in
It's
IGN,
popping
but
off.
I don't. But if not that, it was like early in 2015. But I actually think it was in 2014. Like I'd interviewed them last time I was in Tokyo when we were still at IGN and they were talking about the game, and I could have I could be wrong, but I thought that the insinuation was that it would have been out early to mid 2015. So but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I was just surprised that we haven't seen anything of it. It's just kind of disappeared. Sony is dumping money into that game, so I don't know.
Housemarque announces Matterfall.
Fuck yeah.
which was crazy.
yeah.
When they came, what it was Michael, right, or Denny, right there. He comes out and he's like talking about Housemarque, the logo behind it. And he's like, they're working on Alienation, but I'm here to announce a new game. You're like, what the fuck?
I was like, yes. So the first thing is that everyone's like, was Alienation canceled? No, Alienation's coming out in March. And that comes from Housemarque, who said that's what Sony is aiming for. Sony's aiming for it. What that tells me is that the game might be done, or that they've moved on. That's a small team, so and they already have Housemarque. I don't know how much they've scaled. I reached out to my friends Mikhail and Tomoso at Housemarque, and I was talking to them via email, and I'm not sure how much they've scaled up. But what's clear to me is that they have 3 games in development. So they have Matterfall and Alienation, which is probably done, and then they have their Jarvis game still that they haven't announced. So, or they've announced, but they've not revealed yet. So Sony's deep in bed with them still. They have 2 XDev Sony exclusive games going on right now. Matterfall seems to me to Housemarque going like, we have this awesome voxel weird technology we made with Resogun. What can we do with it?
Yeah.
And to people's perception of what the game is, I think is correct, that it's going to be a side-scrolling. It's going to be exactly what they do every time, which is twin sticks. I mean, that's what they do. Alienation's a twin stick shooter. Resogun's a twin stick shooter. Super Stardust is a twin stick shooter. Dead Nation's a twin stick shooter. But Outland was not a twin stick shooter. Outland was like a very polarity based, like what was that, Ikaruga almost type side scrolling game, which was it was a fucking awesome game. But that was very different. So maybe this will be a side scrolling shooter in some way. But when I first saw it, the trailer, because I've never seen a trailer from Housemarque like that ever. So I don't know if they did that on House. Sony might have done it, but my instincts were at first. Well, I leaned over Greg. I'm like, they're gonna make a AAA game. Like, are they actually
the
gonna
best thing is it looks like that. I
don't think it is.
When
I
they,
don't think it
in
is.
the
Higher
beginning,
profile.
when you were behind them, yes, but then they did the thing where they swung and he was running and shooting, and I think that was the first like, this is like our proof of concept
Of what
gameplay. You're going to
gameplay
be
could be.
running, shooting things, blowing them up, and then be able to run
Yeah.
backwards and be wrapping around like Resogun.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think it is. I think it's my what I suspect is that it is a reworked Resogun. And I don't know if it's that simple.
Sure.
But
There's more to it, I'm sure.
because Stardust is on a flat plane. Dead Nation's like top down, like almost isometric or whatever you want to call it, but really just like a
3/4.
Yeah, like exactly. So you assume that Resogun is a new way for them to do a game, which is inspired really by Defender, which is where Jarvis comes in his own game. So taking place on like a loop, which I think is cool. Resogun is
It's good.
Resogun's so good.
That's a really cool look.
Same.
I'm
That was
excited
my.
to hear more.
I will say, and I'm with all sincerity, that was my biggest announcement for me. Yeah, by far.
No Man's Sky, the release date was probably the biggest announcement for a lot of other people. So we got a June.
Finally.
release area.
June 2016,
Yeah.
not this week.
Yeah,
as
that was
so
such a
many were worried
fucking
about.
stupid rumor. That was so obviously not going to happen. Sony would not do that to that
Yeah,
game.
but people, they want to get excited about stuff, and they're like, "Oh, it'd be cool."
Yeah, no, well, that's that one thing. But then websites are reporting like our sources tell us that, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You think Sony's going to shit out No Man's Sky in the middle of October with like no warning, a week and a half or 2 weeks before Fallout comes out,
Yeah,
3 weeks before Battlefront comes out, Halo comes out on the other console. There's a lot of competition. Call of Duty's a week away. It's like, what are you, nuts? Like, this isn't a game you release now, and this is not a game. If you did release it now, it's a game that you like promote.
Yeah,
market.
exactly.
So that was such a dumb. I mean, when I read that, I was like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever read before.
A June release date, though, man, doesn't sound good to me. Like I've
What are you talking
definitely
about?
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
That's when
Really?
Yeah,
Last of Us,
The Last of Us came
Batman.
out. And Batman
Yeah,
both came
well,
out.
I know, and I mean, that worked great for them, but like, I think that this game should be a February release. Like, this should be. I think this would clean up in February. In June, I guess a lot of what I'm saying comes down to all the people that are going to be talking about this game are going to be at E3. Like,
yeah, but that happens every year, and we get our perspective shifted. That all of us go to E3 and we're like, what a dumb time to release games. But in reality, it's people at home reading about E3 going, man, I wish I had something amazing to play right now. And they're gonna be like, oh wait, fuck, that's how it's been with Last of Us, Batman. Hopefully now that's
Also-
it's surprising though, because this game definitely to me feels like a spring game more than a.
But there's so
summer
much in the
game,
spring
but-
now. The spring's so crowded. You know what I mean?
The
I think
spring is the new fall.
You figure Sony lays out their stuff right, and they must have this gap there because it's Uncharted in March. Then they got you figure hopefully Horizon in the fall.
Yeah.
What is your summer game? Well, it's this thing we put on the Colbert Report or whatever the hell he calls the show now, and all this other stuff. That we've been talking about forever.
Yeah, I think what we're missing surprisingly is I think this tells us that PlayStation VR is going to come out in June too.
Which seems so late. You know what I mean? I could have sworn they were talking spring and stuff, and that's why PSX, I thought they'd be like, all right, it's coming out April. It's what I mean, whatever, May. But I've been making the prediction.
Well, I made the prediction that
I've been making the prediction.
Greg did make the prediction, and that's the thing is that it's all based. What I'm saying is based on conjecture because they have not confirmed that PSVR and No Man's Sky are compatible with each other, but they must be, right? You have to
Yes.
assume
Yes.
that is a huge miss if they don't do that, and I think it's obvious, and I think that's why the game might even be taking so long.
I mean, me too. That's the only reason I can think that it is coming out in June. Because, like I said, I do feel like it's a earlier game than that, and the VR not being ready till then does make sense.
Right.
And it gives people time. I mean, maybe VR does come out in April and the game comes out later, and I don't think it's going to be VR exclusive, obviously. So it doesn't really matter if it's coupled with VR, but it makes PSVR a more compelling thing if you have a few games of that caliber released, because I'm sure they'll have like Eve Valkyrie and a few other things that are really great too. But yeah, No Man's Sky looks cool. I'm super skeptical about it still. I think it's healthy to be skeptical about a game like this because it's promising a great deal. And the team is so small. I do not see the congruent nature between the size of the team and the scope of the game. I don't quite know how they're doing it. And it is based on procedural math. I mean, it's the plans are being made on the fly as far they're there, and it's just based on a sort of algorithm that they've created. So I think that it can make it as big as you want. But what I'm curious about with No Man's Sky, as Greg and I have discussed in the past, is what will the loop be like? What will the cycle be like?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And is it going to be compelling for 5 hours? Is it going to be compelling for 50 or 100? Because I really feel like this game, not having really messed around with it, Greg's played it, but not having messed around with it, but just watching and reading and kind of just thinking about it, I hope it's not one of those things that gets old really quick. I hope that there's more than just
Seeing things.
Because imagine what happens if you go to 10 different planets, and on the 10th planet, on the first planet, you find this certain kind of animal, right? And you
identify
and log in, all that kind of stuff. And then the 10th planet you go to 3 hours later, you have a palette swap of that same animal. And then suddenly the wonder's taken out of it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, how dynamic and big is this game really going to be? And how granular does it really get? I believe that they can deliver on it, but I am skeptical that it's going to be this fucking mind-altering game that everyone thinks it's going to be, or a lot of people think it's going to be. I'm in a wait-and-see approach, and this is one of those ones where I hope I'm dead fucking wrong. Because if it is what it sounds like it's going to be, it sounds great.
Yeah. I mean, that's the game I talk about all the time. Like, I picture sitting on that couch with the PlayStation VR on, and, an hour every night or whatever, chilling out before bed, cruising the galaxy.
The other thing, Greg, that we haven't talked about is that if they announce that PlayStation, if they say No Man's Sky is not PlayStation VR compatible, that's one of those things where we talk about what games belong in VR, what games get you excited. That would be such a major disappointment.
Right.
That would be like
Huge
one of the
miss.
first disappointments I would have had, or maybe the first VR disappointment I've had, where it's like, But you know, yeah, you don't want to put Uncharted. Doesn't make any sense. It's in third person. You don't want to do it. But this is made for this, and I really just do believe that if you read between the lines.
It's obvious.
If you knock that out, then it's like, what are the pillars holding up PlayStation VR? Then it's Riggs and it's Eve Valkyrie, and it's like, those are cool. I'm not excited for those games like I'm excited for the idea of No Man's Sky. And it's this weird thing of where No Man's Sky makes me excited for PlayStation VR, and PlayStation VR makes me really excited for No Man's Sky. Like, I'm in No Man's Sky no matter what. I'm playing it. But the idea of, like, putting it on and just the chill music, and because I don't want the combat, you know, of, like, Eve Valkyrie all the time. You know what I mean? I'm going to want to play that game every so often, do cool shit with it. But just chilling out, landing on a planet, figuring out what's happening. Oh, this guy's bad. I run away. I'm terraforming it. I'm screwing stuff up, collecting shit. Like, that sounds fun and cool, and it sounds like Minecraft in VR, right? But space Minecraft, with the ability to jump around. If that they can deliver on that at least partially at launch, and then add to it as they go, awesome. But if it's just another game I'm playing, cool, I'm in, I'm gonna do it. But I don't see it being as I don't think it being the experience. You know what I mean?
Kind of just rushing through some of these so we can move on to the next topic. Horizon Zero Dawn. That looked awesome. Again.
Yeah, that's exactly what I saw. So that was what was interesting to me.
Behind closed doors.
Yeah. So when I saw the game at E3 in an extended demo, that is exactly what I saw. Everything about it. I don't know if they were in a different location. It didn't look like they were. We were watching it in standard depth because we were having internet problems. But the what I saw was basically what we saw at E3. Everyone saw it at E3, but played a different way. And they went to a river, shot these tripwires, lured the horde or the herd into them to collect all the parts. Then they fought the huge dinosaur. They stopped in my demo and at E3 behind
Crash?
closed doors. They stopped it. Yeah, the fake crash or whatever. To flip the camera around and show how big the animal is, the creature is. So that is what I saw. I was disappointed in that in a way, but to Greg's point that he made when we were talking about it, it's like it's nice to not see it again.
Yeah.
I don't know that I need to see any more about that game. That game is going to be fucking awesome. I feel it. You know, like you just know it.
Yeah.
That game's gonna be something special if they can just put all those disparate parts together. An action RPG made by Guerrilla just sounds
awesome.
Yeah.
Uncharted 4, we saw a multiplayer trailer. I thought the trailer was really cool.
Yeah, it got me excited. Like I said, I was a huge Uncharted 2 multiplayer fan. 3 felt like more of the same, but now watching this one for 4, like the mystical stuff, the ability to call in AI helpers, they call them sidekicks, medical bombs and stuff. I was like, okay, that seems like a lot of fun.
Changing it up and adding some stuff, so that should be cool. And then they did the whole PlayStation VR stuff. Well, there was Dreams, which like I don't know if you guys have a different opinion on, but I was like, I'm not happy about this.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not either.
Who's this for? What is the point of this?
I agree, man. I think that they made it a little more coherent what the game was going to be, but I still think there's a lot of incoherence. It's one of those things where the further you fall down that rabbit hole, answering questions gives you 5 more questions now.
Yeah.
And I feel like the way I feel. Some people are mad that in PS I Love You, the last episode, because they feel like I'm writing it off, and I'm like, that's fine if you feel that way. That's not the way I feel at all. What I would say is that I don't want to play games to make the game that I'm going to play. Media Molecule is very creative and they're very artistic. Make a game and give it to me to play it. That's what they did with Tearaway. There was no creation in Tearaway. I understand that that's their heritage with a little.
You went through and you created the faces.
Oh, that's not what I'm talking about, though, Greg. That has a linear like campaign,
right? But they still put the onus on you to do things. This is rehashing PS I Love You, but I still think it's just like you're coming at it from one perspective and they're coming from the exact opposite. They're not. You're like, make me a game, and they're like, we made you the game, but the experience is you participate in it, and then maybe that's just not an experience for you.
Well,
no,
this
doesn't
look like that.
It's definitely not.
I mean, at least from what I've seen, it does look like it's a bit more just make stuff. Like I don't.
But But I mean, like it's because we're getting it in like grains of rice. You know what I mean? Where the first time we're like, what the fuck is this? And then the next one was like, here's a level where you do need to plant trees and put the house down or whatever. Like I was saying, maybe the objective is just put the house down, and maybe that's like the 3rd level or whatever.
But then the question comes up. And I understand that this is maybe antithetical to what they're trying to do. Clearly it is, but like, okay, so maybe you have to put the trees down in the house down. Maybe you just put the house down. My question is, why aren't the trees in the house just there? You know? Because like, why does it have to be so fucking complicated? You know, like this is the weird direction that I think that studio goes into. And I have a lot of respect for what they did and what they do. And I appreciate your open-mindedness about it. And I am more open-minded than it might sound because I think that they have a marketing problem with this game. They do.
100% I agree with that.
And they have to start. They know they're not stupid. That this is a game you're gonna send this game out to die if people don't know what it is. And they haven't had a hit really since Little Big Planet and Little Big Planet 2. So Tearaway did fine on Vita and people liked it critically, but it didn't sell that well there. And I imagine that no one really cares about it on PS4. I could be wrong. But I've heard literally...
You're going to see comments that people care, but it didn't sell units. Dude, it didn't move units.
No one's talked to me about that game. You know what I mean? Like, no one. People talk to me about the most obscure shit you've ever heard about.
Well, they come with you with stuff they know you like.
Yeah, well, that's true. So what frustrates me is that they have these Media Molecule out of all of Sony's studios, and maybe all the studios in the entire world have like the weirdest minds, the most creative like vision for what they want to make their games. And to me, it's like, okay, that's fantastic. Use that energy to make it and make your vision. I want to see what you want me to play. You know, not what you want me to make you to make me play. Basically, it was like what you know, like, and I'm like, that's just. It's the same. I know it is a personal preference kind of thing.
You're trying to put them in a box, and nobody puts Media Molecule in a box.
You understand what I'm saying, though? I think a lot of people out there agree with me. Like, I would love to see them just take the shackles off of this whole like share, create thing, and just make it. Just make a fucking awesome game that's so fucking zany and weird and Media Molecule. Don't worry about all the other shit, and just let me play it. You know, I don't like the move, like the controller, and that's like, oh Jesus Christ, you know. I'm not excited about it at all, but we haven't seen enough of it, and I'm gonna keep it on my mind.
It's one of those looking back at Little Big Planet and then Tearaway on Vita, right? Like we say all that and do this and stuff, and it's just like I never thought the levels in Little Big Planet were all that amazing. Like there were great ones. There's the very end one that I'll never forget when I was trying to platinum it and I was fucking screaming into a pillow because I don't want to wake up my girlfriend. And like, you know what I mean? There's stuff like that, but it's like, yeah, there were quirky characters, but there were a lot of just, what is this nonsense?
Yeah.
Who are all these Tim Burton characters talking to me?
But to that point, Greg.
Yeah.
That's true. But what if the onus on Little Big Planet was all the campaign? Mm-hmm. Then what? You know what I mean? Because they had to worry about creation tools and making a bunch of different shit and all this kind. You know what I mean? I respect the idea of saying like this can be a racing game, this can be a sandbox game, this can be whatever you want. But I'm like, I really just want to see what you want me to play. And if this is it, then maybe I'm just not. My interests are not parallel at all to theirs.
Sure,
they're just totally incongruent. You know, and that's disappointing.
There's a ton of other things that happened. Wild got announced. We saw Detroit become human.
Yeah, we did.
Well, those are big games.
Yeah.
Wild is far off, I think, but look, I mean, they said that, but it looks cool. I love the idea. It was a little confusing. The rabbit animation, swimming through the water, was very cute. I like the idea that it doesn't seem like a direct combat game at all. It's third person, it's open world, but it's based on like using animals. I think that's a really nice idea. I don't know anything that really does that. And Detroit, we should just.
Very excited.
Fuck, we should just spend an entire topic on Detroit because I have a lot to say about that game.
If you want more information on that, definitely check out PS I Love You XOXO.
He's wrapping
episode 6.
We're getting played out.
We're going long on this one. We're coming up on 40 minutes.
That's long. That's what happens when PlayStation.
But I do want to talk about Until Dawn: Rush of Blood before we move on for a second. So it's exciting and upsetting.
What's exciting about it?
What's exciting is I think it looks fun. Like,
sure.
I think that it's something.
Did you watch the gameplay of it? And stuff? Okay.
There was like I watched a 6-minute like
IGN put up
playthrough of it.
A bunch of
and I'm like, this looks awesome. This looks like a lot of fun. This looks scary. This looks like what I want from VR. It reminds me of those old like arcade machines where you'd go and kind of sit in the roller coasters and like go through and it's all crazy. And it's like I loved that when I was a kid. And now having it be interactive and a game being made out of it reminds me of Disneyland, like with the Buzz Lightyear game where you have the fucking guns you can shoot people. Right. Everyone knows well.
Arcade games, carnival games as I call them, but not carnival games, the PlayStation Move game.
But it looks fun. Like it looks fun. And it's VR. It's a game. It's an experience, but it's also a game. And you get to play it. Cool. Doesn't need the Until Dawn branding. And that's the problem. And I think that, everyone's going to bitch about it and complain because like, oh, this is stupid. But that's going to help it sell better. Yep. And who cares, really, at the end of the day?
Because does that then ruin does it take away from what Until Dawn is? Are you less excited for Until Dawn, whatever their next real Until Dawn game is? Mm-hmm. And does anyone ever want to put out a game where you're like, that's not a real Until Dawn game. That's not a real Ratchet & Clank game. That's not a real...
Yeah.
I can think of very few games where I'm like, that's not a real X, and it was amazing.
But see, that's the thing is I think that people get caught up in this. You look at all the Zelda stuff or Mario stuff, and there are the people like, oh, it's not a real Mario. It's like... But that's the same thing though, or Zelda, like all these like Triforce Heroes or whatever.
Yeah, but Triforce Heroes isn't a real Zelda game, and I do sympathize with people that feel that way, right? Like that's not a Zelda game.
I know, but that's the point. Who cares? It's not. Like, let's just start there. It's not. Is it a good game or not? And so it's like, yeah, could it have been something else? Yes, but then it wouldn't have sold. You know, so it's totally a marketing thing.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it's definitely a marketing thing. The unfortunate thing is, and to Greg's point, is that Until Dawn exists as one game, one property, and people like it. It's critically a hit, and it's doing way better, I think, than Sony anticipated it was going to do.
Cinderella story.
So now there's going to be 2 Until Dawn games, and you're going to look at the both of them and be like, okay, one is this really brilliant horror game, teen horror, nothing like it, right? It's very brilliant, out Quantic Dream. The other game is an on-rail shooter that you use in VR, and I'm like, okay, well, so what is Until Dawn now? Why does this? I agree. I think the game looks fine. I mean, it's probably gonna be fun, but I'm like, why does this have to be Until Dawn based?
Yeah, no,
I think it is a marketing thing, but I think that this is like easy gains now that can injure you later. I'm not gonna say it's gonna. I'm not gonna say it's gonna like injure the brand or whatever like that. They might not do another Until Dawn. If Supermassive makes another game, it might just have a different name entirely. But which maybe makes more sense. Since the entire chapter structure was why it was called Until Dawn. But I just don't understand why this is an Until Dawn game. That's like saying, like, London studio, Sony London is doing The Heist. Why not just call it Getaway: The Heist? You know, it'll sell better. It's a Getaway game. But everyone knows that Getaway, and to a lesser extent the sequel, but Getaway is a beloved PS2 game, and that's not a Getaway game. So it's the same thing. Like Sony London can be like, well, we made fucking The Getaway, so this is called Getaway: The Heist now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though it has nothing to do with what Getaway, what Getaway was. You know, so what makes me want a Getaway game so bad? But
why are we talking about the Getaway? No, I want the Getaway.
So I don't know. I understand what you're saying, and I think it's going to be fine on its own. But it's just like we don't have to abuse IP like this, and it's especially strange to me. Although I do love, as we talked about on the show, PlayStation Lifestyle interviewed Pete Samuels, who's the executive director, I think, the executive director or producer at Supermassive, and he totally let the cat out of the bag like a month ago. And like,
but that was cool the way he did it, right? And then you brought it up, and I was like, really? Is that really what he's teasing, or is that that was a fun little thing?
Because they were asking him about VR and DLC for Until Dawn. He's like, we have no blah blah blah. We have no plans for DLC. We're looked at VR. I'm just paraphrasing. But we don't know what we're gonna do with it unless someone has a sudden rush of blood to the head. And at that point,
he left out head. Remember, it was just unless somebody gets a sudden rush of blood. Right. And I was like, what a weird way to say that. Do you speak English natively?
That's
what are you talking about?
Oh,
and then a week later,
good for him. So guys, thank you for being here with us. If you want to hear more about all that stuff in great detail, how long was that episode?
Not much longer than this segment.
Yeah, it was an hour and 10, 20. No, hour and 10-ish. Hour and 4.
It was a supplemental episode, though. Usually we go about 90 minutes.
In total, you got like 3 hours of PS I Love You that day.
Yeah, so go check it out. iTunes.com/kindafunny. Topic 2.
Hey, guess what?
Yes.
This has never happened in 8 years of podcasting, but I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry on the day where I know we have other things going on.
No, it's fine.
You can roll if you want, but I'll be super quick.